Morning, guys. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone is well. It's the 3rd of June, and this is your daily market outlook for today. Understand that the content on these videos inside my Discord and on my YouTube are for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos should be considered financial investment or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Any past performances discussed does not guarantee future results. You are responsible, as always, for your own financial decisions. So, looking at the news today, obviously NFP week. So, Friday we have NFP, which obviously will bring a lot of volume into the markets. Hopefully, some better direction in regards to where the dollar wants to go to. That is what I'm hoping for anyway, going into Friday. Today, we do have some red folder news, which is at 2:15, as you guys can see, and then 4 p.m. as well for the US dollar. And then obviously, 10:30 a.m. this morning, we have the Japanese yen news also. So expect some volume in regards to the Japanese yen this morning, and obviously potential volume in regards to the news with the dollar as well. Now, again, we won't get the mass amount of volume that we're going to get like we will do on Friday, because obviously NFP is the big one on this Friday coming up. So with that being said, let's see what is going on. Not much really has changed since yesterday in regards to the higher time frames. Again, you guys are probably bored of hearing me talk about the fact that we're just consolidating, but we are, and we have to discuss that because a lot of the time people will be trading, shorts, longs, so on and so on and so on. And obviously getting caught out here because if you're getting a short, you expect the lows to be broke, and we're not doing that. If you're getting a long, you're expecting the highs to get broke, and we're not doing that as well. So, from a bias on the 4 hour and the daily, I don't know. Truthfully, there's no point in me coming in here and acting like I know what's going on in regards to this area here. I'm not too sure if we want to go higher. I'm not too sure if we want to go lower. So at this moment in time, from a 4 hour perspective, it's one of them where it's more of an internal trade, internal structure. But when you trade the internal without the external, understand that it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be the best because if we are consolidating on the 4 hour, on the daily, um, but then we're trying to catch trades on a 1 hour and we have no clear direction, that is obviously going to come into some sort of, negative effect. It's just the way that trading works. So let's discuss what's happened, obviously, yesterday going into Tuesday, which was, where's the start of Tuesday? Here. So from here, you can see Asian. Obviously, we come into this, we had a 4 hour demand and also this 1 hour demand area here. And then what market did is market has obviously been bullish, breaking above any internal suppliers. Internals obviously been bullish into this supply at this moment in time. Now, of course, if you look, we have this downwards movement, market reacted from this supply down, but internally we are still bullish. You can see higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And then obviously, if you look at the internal of that, you can see that this is still bullish as well. So even though we're in this supply, obviously, I think from an internal standpoint, you can see that market is literally just reacted from, this area here as a 1 hour demand. Of course, if we go down to the lower time frames, we could probably, see, a different candle on a 15-minute or so on. But at this moment in time, we are reacting from this area of demand. Now, for me personally, if market was obviously to break this from here and we have a candle closure, then you could potentially look for the shorts on US dollar. If we get, candle closure, then you could potentially look for that. But at this moment in time, obviously major pairs are doing what they're doing. And yeah, it's one of them where you can see the internal is bullish. So we're expecting if the bullishness is going to carry on, it would be from, from here. But let's see what happens in regards to that because we are trapped between that supply and that demand. Now, same scenario with your USD. As you guys can see with our Asian here, our market is currently now reacting from this area of supply where this, sorry, there we go, where the imbalance started. So same scenario, we're obviously consolidating. Market obviously reacted from this demand, but you can see the internal overall structure is bearish here, and obviously the internal is bearish here. So if you look at this, See, market pretty much filled in that imbalance. Then, we failed to go and create a new high. We carried on shorting, so we're in this little 1 hour range here. So for me personally, with your USD, I'm expecting your USD just to carry on shorting from this area, where we're currently at this moment in time. Of course, if market again, like I said, breaks above, then we could have something a little bit different. But as of right now, let's follow what the internal is doing, with obviously the dollar and the major pairs, and just keep an eye on that. Like some of you guys might not be trading majors, which is absolutely fine. I've kind of took a little bit of a step away from majors this week, just because of the way that it's been moving. It's not been, like I said, one of my favorable, things to obviously trade at this moment in time. So yeah, I will obviously talk about this on the live. I'm going to do a live tonight, and we can obviously discuss what's happened during the day. But let's have a look at GU. GU and EU, they look a little bit opposite. If you look, GU is a lot more bullish, whereas EU is a lot more bearish, which again is a weird scenario to have. Because if you follow the internal here, you can see it's very similar to the internal here with the US dollar, and obviously with major pairs, GU and the GU is meant to do the opposite. So if you look at the scenario, you can see market is currently reacted from bullish from this area here, which is a little imbalance. As you can see, market is obviously reacted from there, but the internal structure here is bearish. So I expect, of course, that it's not always going to happen, but I expect if the dollar's going to carry on bullish, then naturally we should carry on bearish. And if we was going to carry on bearish, then I would expect GBP/USD to carry on bearish from here. That's what I would expect with GBP/USD, just because of the internal structure here. Now, of course, if we probably go down to the lower time frames, we might be able to see a reason why market is reacting from here. We obviously have this 15-minute, little 15-minute demand area here. But as I said, let's see how we react from this, and let's see what the dollar is. The dollar is going to do from this 1 hour demand area, and then we can obviously make a better decision from that. NU, I'm not going to cover because she is ugly. But yeah, AUD USD. Let's have a look at the 4. AUD USD, you can see obviously extremely consolidating. Market obviously we discussed, so it dipped into this 1 hour demand. Then we got some sort of bullishness away. At this moment in time, we have this 4 hour demand area that we are in. Let's have a look. Which is here. You can see we have obviously this bullishness and then the internal bearish here. I can't really see much that I like from this internal from a 1 hour. Let's have a look at the 30-minute. Yeah, to be fair, I can't see much from this internal that I like. Of course, we are in that demand. If you look at the 4 as well, we've got an hour and something on this candle. It is volume slowing down, which could, usually indicate like this when the candle volume slows down that we go bullish. Could that be happening here? But of course, that would mean that we'd have to stay bearish from here. So let's keep an eye out on this 4 hour candle for the majors, because if we do obviously short from this 1 hour supply overall, then we could obviously look for them longs inside of these areas as well. But yeah, as you can see, market is obviously in that 1 hour demand. We're coming into this internal structure at this moment in time, but it'd be interesting to see how this candle closure finishes. Going back to GU and EU, obviously I don't have anything for longs on here. GU, we have obviously this area here. One scenario you could possibly, do is when this candle closure finishes on the 1, because it's bullish and it's engulfing, you could look to hedge the market to short and long from here. That could be a possibility. So you could, short into this, long as well, and then see which one wins. If short wins, then of course take a stop loss, whatever that may be, break even, whatever. That is a possibility, or vice versa. If the longs win, then you obviously take a stop loss on here. That is obviously what we call trapping the market. So that is a possibility for GU, of course. EU would have to look for an internal demand, which I don't see on 15, 30 minute, do we see? Nope, not necessarily. So I wouldn't look for a trade on there. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I don't have anything, like I said, for this with the, let's see the four. No. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with AU, and then we can make a decision from there. USD CAD. So we punched above this supply. We have obviously this supply, which you haven't reached at this moment in time. If we look from 4 hour to see what is going on. Of course, we are in this overall 4 hour supply area. But for me, obviously, I wanted to see either of this supply area, carrying the shorts, or this supply area carrying on the shorts. At this moment in time, we are just reacting from the imbalance below this 1 hour supply. Now, as you can see, we've been extremely bullish on that internal. So, at this moment in time, for me, if I was to look for longs on USD CAD, it would possibly just be from this 1 hour demand area near Asian. That's ideally what I'd be looking to long from. But of course, if the dollar shorts and we carry on shorting, then what would I look for? Well, you could look for the fact that this body has not finished. Sorry, this wick wasn't a body above this high, which could mean a liquidity sweep. So then, if you do get, market break, then you could look for, the continuations of them shorts on USD CAD. USD CHF, we are currently in this 1 hour supply. Internally is bullish, as you guys can see. But again, just thinking about the dollar, if the dollar does carry on shorting, we expect USD CHF to carry on shorting as well. And obviously it is in that supply. But if you look at the internal, you guys can, probably see for yourselves, we reacted from this demand. We then obviously reacted from here. We had this bullishness, broke the high. Where did we come back into? Last sell candle there with the imbalance. We had this bullishness. We didn't come back into here. So that's a demand area that we haven't mitigated. And then we obviously just had this. So internally, it would be more probably 15, 30 minute internally, but this is very corrective. So I would possibly not take anything from here personally. Obviously, we're in this 15-minute demand area here, to be fair. That is a 15-minute. So the way that I would look at this is I would just be waiting to see, of course, what the dollar is going to do. If we carry on bullish, could we carry on bullish just from here? Or if we get that bearish break that we want to see on the dollar, which means basically seeing how on the lower time frames how we do react from this supply, 15-minute supply. How we react from here could indicate how we would react from where we're currently at anyway. Because let's say the dollar reacts from this supply and carries on shorting, then of course if we get that break, you could then make a decision to look for the shorts with USD CHF. But yeah, let's see what happens. Like I said, big week in regards to news anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens. Yeah, that is obvious course what we are waiting for is just some sort of higher time frame direction in regards to these major pairs. I feel like it's definitely needed. You guys will feel like it's definitely needed, just so that we can be a lot more confident with the internal trades that we're taking because we have that higher time frame bias as well. But other than that, guys, I will see you on tonight's live call. That will be announced in our Discord right now. So take care and God bless.